Thank you, FCS and Sally, for presenting during this board secretariat training and in a corporation sector for quite a number of years. At the same time, you have served as a chairman of a board, you have served as a board member. So, if you are understanding, what is the number one thing that a good secretary to a board should have?
Thank you so much, CEO, for that question, and it was really a pleasure to share my experience in today's training. From my experience, a very key ingredient for any effective secretary is to understand the processes and the procedures that will enable the board to operate in an atmosphere of good corporate governance. So when the secretary understands the processes, the procedures, the tools that are needed to support the board, then that is very important because it means they are aware and they will be able to implement the processes and the procedures and also to put in place the necessary policies and the tools to make sure that the board operates in accordance with corporate governance practices.
Maybe what should be advice for people who are looking forward or even who are serving boards in secretariats, and sometimes I'm just a finance officer and audit or HR, and then I'm told to support the HR committee. What are some of the skills that I need to acquire, or is there training that I need to undertake to make me efficient on my work?
Thank you. So this is a governance role. When a person is supporting a board in executing its role, especially conducting board minutes, this is a very professional area. It is important that at least one needs to train in corporate secretariat, become a member of the institute so that they are able to undertake that role effectively. However, where in an instance where someone, for one reason or another, is not able to partake of that particular training, then it is important that they do upskilling and build capacity for purposes of serving their boards better. In that case, we have the institute, and it has a very wide scope of trainings they do to support people who handle such matters, including how to prepare board papers, how to take minutes, how to write resolutions, how to handle and plan for board activities, and with those particular capacity building programs, they will be able to support their boards better.
In these hard economic times, of course, organizations are looking at ways of minimizing costs. And some institutions have argued that engaging a certified secretary to support boards is actually a costly affair. And therefore, as a way of cutting costs, I can get the person sitting at the reception or the CEO, executive secretary to support in some of those functions.
Yeah.
What is your view on this, especially in light of the costs involved?
Okay, so thank you for that. But my view is that compliance means business, and when you have the right professional in place, that means business. Because non-compliance is more expensive than paying for the cost of compliance. And I believe we have many qualified secretaries, and the institute is able to provide a list of members who can do that work. And the clients should not shy away, because then they are able to approach many qualified professionals and maybe reach out or agree with a professional who is able to meet their budget, custom make how they want them to do their work. And in my view, my comment will be compliance is means business. So it is always good to comply because non-compliance can be extremely expensive compared to
Is that true also for institutions which are not regulated? For instance, a private company, threshold in terms of share capital is less than 5 million, and therefore the law does not necessarily mandatorily require me to have a company secretary, or even a circle or a pension scheme or whichever other institution. I'm not necessarily required under the law to have a company secretary who is qualified. what is the value in having a competent or a qualified CS rather than just getting a person and telling to perform those functions?
Qualified certified secretary is a trained professional. They have been trained, they have been examined, and they have been certified to be competent to advise boards, councils, commissions, private businesses, NGOs, and even family-owned businesses on how to conduct their businesses in accordance with sound corporate governance practices. And therefore, it is important to have such a professional because their guidance, their opinions, and all the work they do will support the business to be able to attract investors, to support the business to be able to do the right thing, and it will support the business to be able to take the right decision. And therefore, in a whole sum, at the end of the day, the impact of having a corporate secretary in the business will outweigh the cost of having one.
And from the way you explain is that it's like the role of the corporate secretary or the board secretary is not just taking minutes, because the notion that one may have when you talk of secretary, you are thinking of somebody just writing minutes. And in this era of AI and even be able to digitize most of those processes, why then do I require a corporate secretary? Especially coming from the background where God has glorified minutes taken, or some people think even if they're in the boardroom, they are there to be seen and not to be heard. And once in a while, some board members still. So, what is the role, other than maybe the taking of minutes? What would you say is the role of the corporate secretary?
Thank you for that. The corporate secretary, that role has evolved over a number of years and very drastically in the recent past. Traditionally, the corporate secretary would assist the board to take minutes and do the traditional role about putting together papers and facilitating the board members. But now, corporate governance has become front and center for organizations across the world, and they require a professional who will make sure that the board conducts its business in a manner that is sound and in accordance with corporate governance practices. And this needs someone who is a professional, who understands and is able to guide the board. So the board needs the corporate secretary to be the nerve center of how the board conducts its business. And one of the main roles of the secretary is an advisor, advises the board on good corporate governance practices. The secretary can also be a mediator, where the dispute or a dispute arises during a board meeting or between board members. The secretary can help in mediating. The secretary can also help in pointing out to the board areas that need to be improved, for example, how the board conducts its business, and any new policies that they need to take into place, including compliance with laws and compliance with governance standards. So those are some of the key roles that the secretary plays to the board, and we do not count minute taking and tea serving anymore as roles of the corporate secretary.
Yes, indeed, in organizations who take the role of corporate secretary very the center of governance. I have actually noted some of them even allow the secretary to have an assistant to help them in taking minutes, so that the secretary can concentrate in the deliberation and advising the board during the discussion. And finally, FCS, what would you advise an upcoming CS in terms of how can they make themselves to be relevant to the board? And sometimes even why organizations may argue the issue of cost is maybe I'm not realizing the benefit I'm getting from my company sector. So what would be your advice to company sector so that they may be at the center of the business, not as a cost, but as a value add to the organization?
Okay. So this will be my advice to upcoming CSS. It is very important for purposes of adding value where you're serving. Number one, you need to be very well versed with the business that you are operating in, so that then you are able to guide not only on corporate governance matters, but also on the core business of the organization. So that means you have to go out of your way, read, research, and also interact with people so that then you can understand the business and you're able to add value to the business. The second one is continuous learning. Make sure you remain up to speed with the professional developments, up to speed with the new developments in the market. For example, now we can hear a lot about artificial intelligence and all these new things that are coming in. So when that happens, how does that impact the organization and specifically your role as a corporate secretary and the board? So read on current trends, keep up to date with the evolving developments in the market. Thirdly, ensure you're always around mentors so that you're able to be guided on best practices, learn from other people's experience. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. Pair up with senior members who are able to help you navigate the challenges that may come with the career. Lastly, have a balanced life where it's not only about work, but you also network, because your network is your network. And when you have a network that can help your employer to achieve certain goals that they are pursuing, then that adds your value to the organization. Otherwise, I wish you all the best and thank you.
Thank you. This is happening at the sidelines of the board Secretariat workshop in Naivasha, where the institute is building capacity of staff members who normally provide support to boards or commissions. Just last week, the institute, in collaboration with the State Corporations Advisory Committee, SCAC, did an induction for more than 600 board members, and therefore it was important to follow up this with capacity building for secretariats to these boards and commissions. We will be having another one very soon, but in the meantime, the institute has been customizing these programs for individual institutions who require support. We are available to support and work with you, right from developing governance instruments and customizing such programs, and we are your partner. Thank you.